Yeah, so 4 days out.
Yeah, 4 days out, and you're a front runner going into this one, as we were just talking. I mean, very competitive lineup, but you know, like I was just saying, like we went through that podcast yesterday and went through every single competitor and their recent pictures and everything, and you're in my mind, you're in the top five.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I'll be right up there, man, because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, that's why you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt what you see on Instagram, because it's how you present yourself on the stage, right? It's how you look compared to other guys. I'm coming in with a very complete package. My conditioning is second to none. Everything from like skin prep to presentation on the stage, like all of that comes into play. I even got the hair, you know what I mean? Like we're
yeah,
gonna bring the right package, and then just we're gonna see what the judges say, right? It's
yeah,
gonna be a different judge. It's gonna be Becky doing the head judge this year instead of Tyler, so be a different exposure for a head judge. Because I don't think Becky's ever judged me before. No, I don't think so. So that'll be interesting to see. And then yeah, obviously like we did that review with EP0 and looking at like some of the guys that are going to be there. Like I'm excited to get on stage with those guys. Some guys that I've been on stage with already, like Akeem and those kind of guys like Hassan, and then some guys that I haven't been on stage with, like John and stuff like that. So it'll be a good mix of guys, um, and also just like a good competitive lineup overall.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, good lineup. I think the top six is going to be really tough. Like that's why I say like I see you in the top five, and it's like because when you have a top five or six like that, it's like it can go anyway. Like you said, there's thousands of variables to consider. You know, and Instagram, we've learned many times over now, like Instagram doesn't mean anything going into
Yeah.
it. Like we can all look amazing on Instagram pictures. We can take it in good lighting. We can take it at the when we're fully pumped right after a workout, like all these different things like that. So that's why I kind of find it funny that people still pay so much attention to that stuff and like base their picks on that. Like everyone looks good by themselves when you're a professional bodybuilder.
Well, it always creates a lot of hype, right? Like what you see on Instagram is not necessarily what you get, but that's all you get. So that's what you're going to be judging your opinions off of. And it is cool like to be able to actually go and see everybody doing the show ahead of time and be able to kind of compare and like make these judgments, whether we do like top five predictions and stuff. Like it's fun to do that, even as like competitors ourselves or fans of the sport. It's fun to do that. But yeah, like at the end of the day, it's who shows up in
Yeah,
that moment, presents themselves with the right package. So
yeah.
should be good.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, in this sport, you have to be your own hype man. Like you have to promote yourself, right? Like you have to make noise. Like there's not like the IFBB, like unless you're like one of the top guys or whatever. Like they do it for the Olympian, the Arnold. Like they'll put out a poster with like all the top guys on it. But
Yeah.
for the stage that we're at, just trying to work our way up with these like lower level shows, like
Yeah.
the Instagram stuff is absolutely necessary. So
Well, that's true because some guys automatically get hype and some guys just don't.
yeah,
Like I've never been a guy to get hyped up, but I don't mind that because it's just like being an underdog or having like that shadow mentality or the dark horse mentality
yeah,
where sorry, I'm just letting Dorian in. Where like you got to prove yourself, you know what I mean? And it's a double-edged sword either way. Because if you're the guy who's coming up and you get all the hype and then you don't perform, I mean, we saw that with Quinton, and you feel bad about it, and that's hard to deal with. Or you're on the other side of the spectrum where you maybe don't get as much hype or recognition as you believe you deserve, and then it's up to you to kind of, like you said, build your own hype. And that's why I've been putting up as much stuff on social media as I possibly can, because no one else is going to do it for me. So I'm going to have to be the one that takes the initiative, put in the content, and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. But all the same, it just takes one show to kind of change all of that. Like we see stars get born every year at the IFBB.
Yeah.
It just people don't expect anything from you. You come out of nowhere, you win a show, or you get second to like a really good guy, something like that. I mean, like look at Brett Wilkin when he came second to Hunter Labrada,
Yeah.
like a few years ago. Like that his career took off after that. And since he's after obviously winning a show and everything like that. So uh it just takes like nailing it that one show, and it can literally change your life as a bodybuilder.
That's true. Yeah, and the lineup makes a difference because, like you said, even with like the Brett Wilkin example, being compared to somebody who's a top Olympian and faring really well. Even we saw that Martin recently and Nick. Now Martin is basically a front runner to be in like top 10 for the Olympia just because he got second to Nick versus winning the Detroit Pro, which also gives you like a good amount of recognition, but then you don't also have that comparison against a guy who's like a top three potentially. So it's
Yeah, no, yeah,
kind of
very.
interesting how that works.
Well, I think like Martin, obviously great season, right? Because like he got that win, which is great for him. He gets the Olympic qualification, but then people were saying like he didn't really beat anyone that was like overly like great at that show, like not a top guy.
Yeah.
And then comes out against Nick and like pushes Nick to like the absolute like limit, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like he got more recognition for that than he did his win.
Yeah, exactly. So would obviously we all want to get to the Olympia, but you want to get to the Olympia and kind of already have that hype behind you, like, oh yeah, this guy's going to be a potential top 10, not just like another, you know, last
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think people expect Martin to be in the top 10 now. Like, if you get that close to beating Nick Walker, and Nick Walker's a top three guy, I mean, by rights, you should be
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah. Dorian,
What's up?
what's up? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, yeah, my pleasure. I couldn't connect on my computer for some reason, so I'm just on my phone.
Oh, it's all good.
Phone works.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Is Justin here or is he no show?
He said he had to attend to his farm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He might try to jump in though, but yeah, apparently
Yeah,
something came
yeah.
up.
Right on, right on.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys see okay?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys both have glasses on. I've never seen you guys with glasses.
Oh, this is the office, man. If I'm in
Is
the
that
office,
like
the
the
glasses are on.
podcast? Is that a staple?
Yeah, 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 yeah. 100%. We definitely rock the glasses on the podcast. It's
Yeah,
just it makes us look smarter,
yeah.
which we need.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
After
it's
5 p.m., the glasses go on.
Mm-hmm. Man, oh man. Crazy day today. So many people in town, right? So everyone's here for the Toronto Pro.
Yeah.
Literally, like everyone that comes in is just hitting me up, asking me like advice. Where do I go for this? I need a haircut. Where's the grocery store? My DMs are just like flooded.
yeah. Even I'm getting some of those now because like people up, I live here now. People are
You
looking
live
for
here,
meal
right?
prep companies and stuff like that, and I'm like, man, I
Yeah,
just moved here. Like I'm just figuring this stuff out myself still.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
I only go to Fortino's in the gym.
Yeah, yeah, back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the only places I need to go.
yeah. That's funny.
I
I
always
can't.
I always try to hook people up, whether it's with the JW Foods or when you start to know like the good stuff around here, then
Yeah,
people definitely appreciate that, right?
for sure, for sure.
And pretty
Yeah,
much if you go to Pure Muscle, you're gonna find everything you need. So
yeah. It's cool to see the people in there too. Like Tim, I saw Tim there yesterday. He just came in from Germany. He was there again this morning, and he's just so pumped. It's cool to see people so happy in there.
Yeah,
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 that's awesome, man. Because it's like people come from all over the world and train at different gyms, but I feel like every time people come to Pure, they're just like absolutely amazed. Like
yeah, yeah. It's cool.
it's so much better than some of the other gyms. Like not to like put other gyms down, but some of the gyms in Vegas were extremely underwhelming. And I was like super excited, like, oh man, like can't wait to go check out some of these gyms. I'm like, holy crap, this is half the size of Pure.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's funny you say that because originally we were like thinking about opening a gym in Vegas. So I just went there to see like the community, the culture, see how it was. And there's a lot of gyms, a lot of good gyms, but they're all like, that 10,000 square foot model. They're all very similar,
Yeah,
10,000 square feet. They're good, but they're not like, it's not like, holy shit, right?
yeah,
But they're still good. And there's a lot of them. So at the end of the trip, I was like, man, and a lot of them were quiet. There wasn't a lot of people training them because there's so many of them. They're spread out throughout Vegas. So I started asking myself, like, man, maybe Vegas can't facilitate, a gym like here because there's so many 10,000 square foot gyms throughout the entire city.
yeah. And also like having like a bodybuilding gym too. It's like if you already have 5 or 6 gyms that are like bodybuilding gyms, it's gonna be hard to like open an epicenter bodybuilding gym.
Yeah, yeah,
As we're like where we are, like Pure is really the only bodybuilding gym. Like I feel like everything.
Yeah,
There's not like fancy fitness clubs and stuff around, but
yeah,
if you're a hardcore bodybuilder, you know that can afford like a more expensive membership. Like you're going to Pure.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
100%. There are some other like good gyms, but in the area. But I know what you mean. Like I used to always go to. Oh my gosh, it was like Fitness Fanatics and Worlds. I think now it's Powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's actually by Sky Fitness in Mississauga, and it was always like pretty hardcore. But the problem was, it was just a little bit small, and as it got more popular, it got like cramped. Like Robin, have you ever been there?
Yeah, it gets busy.
Yeah, it gets way too busy, right? And then Sky Fitness is really popular, but a little bit a different demographic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I remember the hardcore gym was like Fitness 365.
yeah, which is a little bit of a drive for us,
Yeah.
right? Hardcore doesn't have like the best variety, but still a good gym, right? Like a really good gym. And I think they recently just did that big reno, and they got a
Yeah.
whole bunch of new equipment there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they leveled up.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It makes a huge difference though, man. Like, because where you train, obviously the environment makes a huge difference. And all of the pros that train at Pure Muscle, when you go in there any time of the day, you're going to see a pro training. You're going to see Morgan or me or Antoine or Quentin or Tim or like all these guys that,
Yeah,
well, we all live around here, but people travel for hours or across the country, or they come in for the bodybuilding shows. And then there's like, everybody's here, and it's crazy to see that.
oh, dude. When I was bodybuilding like younger years ago, I remember before Pure, like I literally used to go to like travel all over like the GTA for like different body parts
Yep.
because like one gym had good leg equipment, another gym had good back equipment. There wasn't like that one gym that had it all. Actually, you know what, Robin? I don't know if you ever would have went there, but like
System.
10 years ago, System was cool,
Yeah.
right? That was cool in Toronto. But did you ever go to Brampton when it was on Steeles? It was the old like Bodyworks.
Oh no, I never went there.
Never went there. Hey, Micah Sidhu trained there, Bob Weatherall. There was like some like old school pros that were like in there. Frank, that was Frank's home gym where I first met Frank.
Yeah.
Back in like 2011, he was training there. I saw him there before we were friends in 2010. And that was like probably the best gym, but it was in Brampton and it was packed. Like
Is that place
packed.
still open?
I think it is now. It's in LA Fitness.
Yeah, you know
Oh
what?
yeah, I
I
see.
had some clients go there a couple of days ago and send me pictures, and they were like, "This is where your buddy Frank used to train, like when he first."
Okay, so they ended up. You know what happened though? When LA Fitness took it over, it was still good for like 2-3 years. Then they got rid of all the equipment. It was all old Flex Fitness, the old Hammer Strength. It was all the good shit, old Atlantis, and then
Nice.
they got rid of everything and got like typical LA Fitness.
Yeah,
Ruined it.
I
yeah.
went
Ruined it.
there when they turned into LA, and it's still like a nice and big facility with a lot of equipment. But yeah, the equipment's not as good as it was, obviously. And then it's
Yeah,
like the people that go there, man, like there's
packed.
like 10% of people actually training. The other 90% of people are just like, they don't put their weights away. They're just texting, or they're just there to like basically like hang out and socialize, which is, it's not the
Yeah,
best environment if you're like a hardcore bodybuilder. And if you're the one guy training hard, everybody's staring at you.
yeah, yeah. It's funny.
Man, I find like gym etiquette is almost like just a thing of the past anyway. Because like even at Pure, like I see people leave stuff on equipment all the time. I'll walk in the gym and like that like plate loaded leg extension that's on like the original side. Yeah, like
So,
that
like,
six
are
plates
you,
on like with like a band on
yeah,
it.
the prime
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah, 6 plates on it with like a band on it to hold all the plates on it, and like people just like walk away from
leave
that.
it.
I'm
Just
just like,
leave it.
Oh man.
like, how? And like, especially in a place like this, like I'm after saying things to people a couple times, like obviously friendly, I'll just ask them like, "Hey, you done with that?" And of course, like, "Oh yeah, I'm done." And they say it like they're doing me a favor because we're letting me use the machine. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, you need to take your weight off of it." That's why I'm asking. Like, I'm not even
Dude,
training
it's
that.
it's so
I do
weird.
the same thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so weird for me because like when I was like, if I were to ever see like you guys in the gym training and I was young, like I was always like there was like just like automatic respect or
Yeah,
like. And
yeah,
now I feel like Morgan or Robin, you guys would be like training, and you'll have like some kid that's just like 1 year into training, he'll just like take his shirt off right in front of you in the mirror and start like hitting shots.
oh
And
man,
you're like I would never be caught dead. Like it's just crazy how things change and evolve, you know, and it's like, I guess because of social media and but I'm
Yeah.
just like, wow, man, what happened to the days of like they just don't exist anymore?
It's true
Yeah.
because yeah, even not like if you're training like at a Good Life or something like that or some other gym, you would never take your shirt off in the middle of the gym. You would go into the washroom and do it there, or if they had like a posing room or like a studio, you do it
Yeah,
in there. You know
yeah,
what I
it's
mean? But
freaky.
I mean, even
I see
filming
guys
now, right?
I
Filming
see
is
guys like
somewhat
on the regular training with their shirts off, like just like filming and stuff. And like, it's like again, like if you're a huge pro and like you're trying to get like a shot or like you're doing a a shoot or taking videos for your YouTube, like yeah, that's understandable. Like you said, like a lot of these guys have been training for 1 or 2 years, and it's like I just don't understand it. I guess it's because the people that they look up to now on social media, it's just different. Because when we came up, yeah, like we look up to like pros, like guys that have actually built like insane physiques. Even the other day, like I had a client of mine, he's a young guy, and he writes me and he's like, I want to train like the Trend Twins. Like, can you do me up a program that's like super high volume and like crazy intensity? Like, I want to train like the Trend Twins. And I'm like, dude, like they're not even like, like, like I get it. I get what you're saying. I'm like, but you're talking to a pro bodybuilder here who's 330 pounds with abs. Like, you don't think I know the best way for you to train? Like, you really think that doing the Trend Twins training is gonna get you to where you want to
Yeah,
be? Like,
yeah,
it's so that's
crazy.
where everything is skewed. It's who they look at as mentors, right?
Yeah, yeah,
it's
crazy.
important to understand too. It's like the intensity doesn't come from having high volume or like the program itself. The intensity comes from putting in the work when you're actually there in that moment, right? Like being able to connect with connect with the weights, being able to actually work your way up in weight, not just like throwing on the weights on the machine that you can move the easiest, because we have a lot of machines that vary in your ability to add load to them. Like we have like the prime machines, and you can load up like 3 or 4 plates on the top peg, and then you can do your rows with 3 or 4 plates. But there's almost no resistance in that part of the movement because you haven't loaded the other pegs at all. And those are the guys that are also leaving the goddamn weights on them too. So it's
Yeah.
like, man, like first of all, learn some gym etiquette, work your way up in terms of your training, and then just be consistent with it and be maybe a little bit more humble, right? Because I think being humbled, like when we were younger in training, I think that made a difference in terms of like we would like maybe keep our hoodies on, we would just train. We wouldn't go there to really talk. I mean, I see a lot of younger guys spending way more time than they should just talking to people in the gym. I was never like that. I would just go and train and get out so I can just eat and recover and do it again. That was the best part for me. Talking to people wasn't really something I was interested in, because what are you really going to figure out from having like a 10-minute, 20-minute conversation with someone? You just need to train and eat and
Yeah,
sleep.
I would get upset when I was younger and I was training. If someone were to talk to me, or like I would get upset. It ruined my workout. I went in there with a lot of intent and like knew exactly what I was doing. And if someone interfered with that or got in the way, like I looked at that as like my workout's being ruined. You know what I mean? Like I'm failing here.
Yeah, like it's like you're talking to them and you're getting anxiety because like like you feel your pump like kind of fading.
Yeah, yeah,
And like, but like you don't want to be rude. Like I
yeah,
like that too. But it just got to a point to me like where I would just be straight up with people. I'd be like, hey, like I don't want to lose my pump right now, and just like put my headphone back in and like go.
yeah,
I,
Like it's
I,
not
I,
you. It's just about the pump.
yeah,
dude, I felt bad because I had this kid message me. He's like, hey man, like, did I do something wrong? Like, are you mad at me? He's like 16, 17, 18-year-old kid. And I was like, what is he talking about? And I remember like that day that I went in to train, I'm like 2 weeks out, and he was just like, oh, hey Robin, like I got a couple questions for you. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. Like I'm about to train. You want to catch me after? And I just like walked by and like gave him a fist bump, whatever. And then he sent me that message. He's like, are you mad at me? Like, is everything okay? I'm like, hey man, listen, like I'm here to train. I'm getting ready for a competition. I just don't have a lot of time to socialize. Feel free to send me a DM and we can chat if you have questions, but there's a time and a place. That's why we're so active on social media, because we can communicate with you guys when we're not actually there to work. Like we're going to work,
yeah. It's a job.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just can't fathom that, man. Like, because people go to the gym and like they live the lifestyle and they take it like somewhat serious, but I really don't think people understand like how much like we put into this and like how valuable that time is. you know, and they come to us like as pros and they're like, oh, look, a pro, like I want to take my chance to talk to them because like when are they going to see us in person again? Probably never, because we only go to the grocery store and the gym, right? So they really try to like jump on that. But you know, so in a sense, like I don't blame people, you know, a lot of times. Most of the time people are pretty respectful, but I think we have every right to kind of like just if we're training and like we're in the zone to just be like, hey, like you can if you want to wait around till I'm done, be happy to talk to you. Like, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because you don't want to be a dick. Like I felt like, oh, I must have been a dick to this kid to make him like upset or feel like I was mad at him or something. But I
yeah.
mean,
And
No,
also in prep too, man, like when you're two
yeah,
weeks out, it's like you in your head, you are not being a dick at all, but you're probably coming off as a dick because
yeah,
you're just locked in the zone, you know.
even for me, just because like obviously at Pure, it's my workplace, but I
Yeah.
still take my training serious. And then it's like it's really hard too because like all my clients are there, all my employees are there, everything I do on a daily basis is there, and it's like everyone just feels like you're just accessible, right? So it's like to work out, and then all the members know me, so everyone wants to say hi, and it's just a lot of energy that I have to think about to have my head on a swivel to always be like, hey, hi, how are you? Hey, how are you? It's a lot, right? Where sometimes I just want to like just train, right?
Yeah.
Just be there for
yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
But like,
I've thought
it's
about that often, Dorian. Like how much like people like want to get your attention while you're there,
Yeah.
and that's your time. I mean, you're busy all day long, and when you go to the gym, you go to the gym so you can work out. And I can
yeah,
only imagine how frustrating it would be to not be able to have that time for yourself. So, like, like me and Morgan see you at the gym, but we know that when you're training, it's not the time to ask you questions about our program. We
yeah,
can do that later,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Like, just being
exactly.
respectful about that 1 hour time. And that's something that I always would preach too. It's like when you're going into the gym, before you get into the gym, you should have in your mind, I have 60 minutes to focus. 60 minutes to focus. That's it. Out of the whole day, 60 minutes to do this workout and give my maximum focus. So that has to exclude distractions, which, like you said, it's
Yes.
not always easy, especially in your position, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like I find myself too, like I just started taking training more serious. I guess Monday when I got back from the Raw Athletic Club, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like, my diet, training, make it a priority. And then I find myself still, I finished training at like 4 o'clock. And it's like by the time I get out of the gym, because it's like boom, I just start getting hit by people talking, employees, whoever it is, my business partners. It's like I don't get home till 5:30 and I'm eating my meal an hour and a half later, right? Where I'm like, I want to eat like 30 minutes after I train. And
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard. But you know what I think it is? You just gotta get really good at telling people no, right?
Yeah, you got to set the
For
boundaries,
yourself.
man. You got
Yeah,
to set the boundaries. I think if like you kind of made it known, like you know, like all of us obviously know, but like you know, if you kind of made it a known thing that like when you're training, like people leave you alone, it's only a matter of time that like that would get around and people would just like no, you know.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, people like I think there was like a saying where it's like people will treat you how you train them, or you know what I mean, how you condition them, right? Because
Yeah,
if you're always, you're always they're interrupting you or asking you something, you always answer them with a smile. I mean, they're gonna keep on doing it, right?
yeah, absolutely. Because if they think you don't mind, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
then it's hard to really blame them, right? But
yeah.
man, if I was you, I probably would have got a different gym membership by now.
But like where? Like
Yeah.
where?
Yeah, I know, I know. Yeah,
The
like
only place you
you're
want to
taking a
train,
big
that's
hit like on like the equipment side to train like anywhere else, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
you have to do what Flex Lewis does, like shut the gym down in the middle of
Yeah,
the day, like
imagine that.
train at 4 a.m. something like that.
It's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah,
I guess you could technically like shut down like one side
I would
from
probably make if anything, like if it ever came to that, where like I really can enjoy my training, I'd probably just like make a showroom for like pure muscle athletics,
yeah.
like in the warehouse or something, and that way it like doubles as a little gym for days where it's just too crazy,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not a bad idea. Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
shut down 1.0 between 1 and 3 p.m. and only the HD and heavy D athletes can train.
imagine that.
And me too.
Yeah. Well, you are.
I'm an honorary HD athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a heavy D athlete.
I'm a heavy D athlete, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Coach Heavy D.
So Dorian, how are you feeling going into this weekend?
You see that? Do you guys see that behind me? A fucking duck. You see it in there or no?
Oh yeah, I
Oh
see.
wow,
Let me
dude.
see. Fucking duck. Him in the fucking. Oh, it's just the female. Let me see if I can. Can you see it in there? What? You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
Fucking flies in my pool every day. The male and female come here and they visit their home.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
They love your house. They love your pool.
Literally, the other day it was swimming. It was actually going into the pool, like swimming. It's insane.
Is it a saltwater pool or chlorine?
It's you know what? I'm gonna butcher it. I forget what it is. It's something unique. It's neither.
Something that the ducks like, apparently.
Yeah.
Safe for animals, I assume.
And then the cat is always like, I'm nervous that the cat is trying to hunt it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it's a jungle back here.
Have you gotten your place organized for the most part now, Dorian?
Oh my gosh, complete shit show. The whole kitchen is torn apart. I told you what happened, right? Yeah, you know what happened, right? Yeah, the water damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one to live through. You know, right here, right beside me. Hold on. See that?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
It's my bathtub and the master and my dishwasher.
Thought that was a hot tub.
Yeah, I was just so confused. It sounds like this guy got a cold tub outside or something.
No, that's my tub for my master bathroom. Because they had to gut everything and they had to put it somewhere.
How long are they thinking that's going to take to fix up?
It's already been like 3 weeks. They haven't done anything. They're waiting for the insurance to do like the quote or whatever.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm supposed to hear from them by Friday.
At least you got a beautiful backyard to hang out in.
Yeah, exactly. Got to focus on what you do have and what you don't have.
Yeah,
so rather than what you don't have.
It's the only way to live, man. It's the only way to live.
But yeah, I was going to ask Dorian, like, how are you feeling going into this weekend with? I know you got 3 guys in the open. Do you have any more athletes competing besides 3 guys?
I also have Maya, who I believe will be I think she'll be doing the pro show on Sunday as well. Like I think she'll win her pro card. She's a figure athlete. She's like 22 years old, just a complete genetic freak. Like to me, just looks like she was born for the figure division. You know, I think she's incredible. I can't say enough good things about her. She's just, oh my gosh, the fucking male.
Another dog.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, she's just incredible, man. Like this girl's physique, symmetry, balance, like everything is just, you'll see.
Yeah, no, dude, I saw the pictures of her at the Fuad show, and I've seen her train at the gym. I mean, I didn't know she was only 22 years old. That's pretty insane, man.
Right? Just like she just has it. She's tiny. She's 121 pounds, but it's just like the way everything just inserts in the body, and it just comes alive when she hits shots. She just expands and everything opens up.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy to see somebody that's just that genetically inclined for a division.
And you love to see a young girl like that, you know, to do figure, and to not want to stay in the bikini or wellness realm, and to like be willing to be a bit more muscular in the upper body, because
you don't see that anymore, right? Often.
Yeah, I got one
wanted
too.
To ask you guys though, do you think that the figure division for how they're judging it right now is getting almost too muscular in upper body shoulders? Because that's the one thing, man. Like in my opinion, Valerie has like the ideal figure for figure. But when she gets on the stage with the other pros, they have so much more mass than she does, especially in their shoulders. And I don't know. Like, what do you guys think about that?
The direction this is going. So if you look at the 2022 New York Pro lineup versus the 2024 New York Pro lineup, and I can send you guys a comparison. That's the last time Val competed. And when Val turned pro, I told her I think she can be a top Olympian based on her structure, based on her muscle. Like, I thought she could be the top. But after seeing New York, it made me question things of the way figure is trending with muscularity, because the amount of muscle the girls had in the top 5, they were borderline like, you know, women's physique, heavily muscle. But the way I looked at it was the only way you were placing Like if you look at the top like 8 girls or even 10, it was either like you were genetically blessed with a crazy V taper, wide clavicles, wide shoulders, small waist, flaring quads. Even if you weren't heavily muscled, but if you had that genetic, makeup and you had some muscle, those girls were getting looked at, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the other girls. Otherwise, you got to be like just crazy, heavily muscled and dense. Like it's to me, I don't, and I don't know if it's just that show. That's the way that show is judged. But when I think back to like, oh my gosh, early 2000s or maybe like 2000 and 2008, I can't remember. It was 2010. Erin Stern, like I don't know if you guys remember her when she won Figure Miss Olympia.
Yeah.
Like it was never like that. I was always a fan of the figure division, and then for some reason, it just seems like over the years, it's getting more and more and more muscular. Not just muscular. Like I just feel like muscularity is okay as long as it stays feminine. I don't want to see women with like hairlines receding. With starting to get those effects of like drug abuse.
And different proportions where the shoulders are so big, even like out of proportionately big to compare to their arms.
Yes.
And then the amount of muscle that they're looking at for like their lower bodies as well. They're looking at the girls that have even more muscle in their lower bodies too. So
Dude,
yeah,
some of the girls, the quads are so muscular. It's insane.
yeah,
And then when you touch upon the shoulders, and that's why I said I feel like you either have to have very wide clavicles to have that V taper, or you need to have like just giant, crazy, huge shoulders to make up for width.
Yeah.
You
even
know,
even Emily Hammond, who's another Canadian athlete, and she did the New York Pro. I don't think she was in the top 6 either, but she's big, man. Like
yeah.
bigger than
But
Val, wider. Yeah,
Emily has structure, right? She has
yeah,
shoulders, a tiny waist. She structurally is in favor of that class right now.
yeah.
So that's a decision these girls have to make. Like with Valerie, for example, obviously she did that show, and if you look at where she came from when she started, just leaps and bounds. She blew my mind with how much progress and where she got to in a short period of time because of like where she started that prep. Where people don't know that, right? They only care about how you show up on stage, and that's how it should be. Um, but she's got to make a decision whether it's like, hey, do you want to just do this for you and continue to show up with a physique that you love and you like, or do you want to chase what the judges are rewarding, right?
It's
Because
weird because Val was already an Olympian, and then she goes to a show like the New York Pro and can't even place top 10 with an improved physique. That's what was confusing for me, and I can only imagine how disappointed she was. I talked to her a little bit, but that's kind of why I guess you guys kind of shut it down for the season just to figure things out, right?
Yeah, regroup, figure things out. Her body's in a better place now, and I think like when she does start a prep, whether she chooses to do a show in 10 weeks, 16 weeks, whatever she chooses, she's just gonna have a much better, good, starting point.
Yeah.
And maybe she'll be able to make up for certain things with more refinement, right? When you have that time and you're lean and you work on refinement and just getting more streamlined, and you can see the physique because you're not trying to starve off body fat, right? I think a lot of preps are ruined, I guess is the word I would use, when it becomes a fight, a preparation to fight off body fat. I feel like preps you should be going into whether it's bodybuilding, figure, a lot of these divisions. It should be focused upon performance. It should be focused upon efficiency, where a lot of these people get so fat, and the prep becomes, let's just strip off all this body fat. 2 hours of cardio, no carbs. So now you're starving. Your performance in the gym sucks, and you're just like trying to get off body fat. You have no time to focus on like, high days or filling out performance, what you look like full, because you just time's ticking, the clock's ticking. I got to get all this body fat off. So I really like the idea of prepping athletes when they are more in striking distance, because now you can, focus on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I feel like a lot of times, there's a reason people get better show to show. It's like once you get lean and stay lean, and then you can play around with with doing high days and taking fatigue and stress off the body, it always yields a better look. Like I know with my clients now, and even the way I, prefer to prep like for myself, it's like I'd like to be ready like a month out, or have my clients ready like a month out, and like let their weight come up, like do 2 or 3 high days in a row and then pull back down. And then, their energy is better, their training performance is better, it yields a cleaner, fuller look. I mean, I'm sure you agree with that.
I think it's
Yeah,
important.
no,
Yeah, I think it's important to have your coach working with you for the entire season too.
Right.
Most of us, like as pros, we're going to stay with the same coach on and off season. We're not going to like fuck off and then come back. But a lot of amateurs, they're like, okay, well, now it's prep time. Time to get my coach. When the prep is done, okay, I'm going to do my own off season, get huge, come back and like keep repeating that process. But it's super frustrating for the athlete and the coach because you basically have no basis of starting point. You just, okay, now you're
no reference.
throwing
Yeah.
into, right into the fire. And then, like you said, you just have to focus on, okay, now we just have to get all this body fat off. But if you have that time to kind of prepare things, you can start off and actually increase performance the whole time. And I think it's such a myth that you're going to be losing strength on contest prep. If you're losing all your strength on contest prep, which is kind of what happened to me last time, but that was because I was dealing with like all these health issues. That's the issue. Losing strength, having health issues, that's the problem. Being able to perform, being able to have like really good training sessions, being able to actually somewhat build muscle along the way and build strength along the way, it really speaks volumes for how you're able to present yourself when it actually comes down to stage time, and then being able to continue your season because you haven't killed yourself to get in shape.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. No, I do like to make sure people are ready a few weeks out. Even Robin, like even for you, for example, when leading into this prep and obviously you're feeling good, right? And you even got to a point where you were like, should we do New York? And I was like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, he could do it, but like I don't want to like be pushing right to the show. I like to have that buffer of 2 weeks where like, hey, we can back off things, combat the fatigue, all the cardio, the high volume training. You know what I mean? We can like we have time, right, to back off like, certain things we're taking in prep, like certain PDs or you know what I mean? You can like allow your body to actually get a fresher look, a more refined look, and not beating it to the ground till you get to the show. Because like a body is not just like a weight, right? We with Robin, for example, with you, we've seen you hovering around this same body weight for a while, but like say 255 or 6 now is much different than 255 or 6 13 days ago.
100%.
You know what I mean? So it's not people that also focus on a body weight. They think, oh, when I hit this weight, I'm going to be in shape. But it's like it doesn't, it doesn't translate like that. At least not in my eyes.
No, definitely, and it's like way less stressful too, because then you can just kind of cruise in and land that plane instead of like, oh man, like now we have to do something that's extra stress on top of an already stressful prep. But
Yeah. Even with it's funny. I was having this conversation with Maya actually because this prep, she hadn't competed in like, oh my gosh, 4 or 5 years, and last year she attempted to compete, but she had some family stuff come up that she had to pull out of the show pretty close to the show. But she wasn't getting nearly as good progress last time she prepared for a bodybuilding shit for a figure show, and she was eating like 1,000 calories, 2 hours of cardio. Where this time, like we didn't ever go lower than like 1,600 calories. Her cardio didn't exceed 60 minutes. It was just like a more and that's just like I told her, I was like, that is an example of like focusing on efficiency and trying to get more out of less, where a lot of preps or coaches will just resort to like calorie deficits and push expenditure to yield results, where it's like they miss like, hey, how are you sleeping? Hey, how's your training performance? What's the point in feeding someone 1,000 calories if they're like, yeah, 3 weeks ago I was squatting 315 for 20, and now I'm squatting 2 plates for 6. It's like that's
yeah,
horrible.
dude, I was surprised that I was still building strength on my squats even up until like 3 weeks out. I'm like, damn, like I just hit a PR, and like that was pretty damn cool.
It's a good
And like,
sign that you're holding on to tissue, all your muscle, right?
yeah, and not dealing with like joint pain and not dealing with like so much inflammation in my body either. So it's been really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. So I think there's something to be said for just like, but the problem is I think it requires a lot more patience and attention to detail when you're prepping someone and considering all those other factors opposed to just looking at like calories in and calories out, or but when you do that and you pay attention to it, I think it just gives a much better, it gives the most, I had seen is that you're gonna get the best result that way. Whether it's 5% better, 4% better, 3% better, it's gonna be better.
Yeah,
I do
exactly.
feel like so many coaches, that's all they know is calorie deficit when it comes down to losing body fat, or calorie surplus when it comes to gaining muscle. Like you see it on the other side too. Like you'll have coaches that are just pushing food on guys and then their weight stalls. It's like, oh, you're not gaining weight anymore. It's like, guess we got to push food again. Right. But it's like sometimes you're just getting fatter and your insulin resistance is going up. Like you're not going to build any muscle at all.
I
But
don't, yeah,
you
I don't
know,
understand it, man. Do you guys come across that a lot where you hear about like a lot of these competitors, specific, obviously majority being women, but like 1,000, it's like these 1,000 calorie diets are just like standard.
I just had someone message me because they said they had a friend who's working with a coach. She's 12 weeks out, not making progress, and she's already down to like 1,300 calories a day, right? And like her weight's not moving. And I'm like, this guy. So obviously this guy just keeps pulling food, waiting for something to happen. Clearly, if she hasn't lost a pound in like 8 weeks of dieting and her calories are that low, like there's something else going on. Like there needs to be an investigation here. That's why, like I
Yeah.
every now and then, like you'll get a client, in prep, and all they do is send you pictures and their weight, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, this is no good to me. Like there's so, and then I got to start asking questions like, like what's going on here? How's training performance? Like all these types of things, right? And it's crazy to me the amount of people. I don't even know how these coaches have clients, honestly, right? Like how do you still have clients coaching people this way?
You
Because
know
like,
what it is? It's because the genetically blessed ones can survive that mentally and physically.
yeah,
So they can do the extreme diets and still get the results. But like the 90%, the 80% that need like actual like individualized coaching, they fall through the cracks because they're not able to sustain that. So then it's just like, oh, you're not cut out for this, your genetics aren't good enough. And then they believe that, but that's not true. They just
yeah.
need better guidance, right?
Well, and there's a
And
lot of
like
these coaches too that have even just done like 2 or 3 shows themselves, and they call themselves a coach. It's like you don't even have any real experience. Like you've never been through anything. You've never had to solve problems for yourself and find solutions. It's like
they're just
through
they're just regurgitating
that's
what they've told.
sorry,
Yeah.
Dorian.
They're just regurgitating what they've done themselves from their coach, or what I mean, passing it down. Not their experience with actual clients and training people, and
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, I can only speak for myself. Like, I've worked with like 5 different, like, good coaches, which I've like learned things from like each of them. I've put dozens of people on stage at this point, have hundreds of lifestyle clients. So whenever I run into a scenario, chances are I've seen it before, and I've already had to solve this problem. So I can just start troubleshooting right away with the client. Like if something's going on, like, how's your
yeah,
digestion?
everyone's so different.
Like little things like, are you eating organic oats or are you eating regular oats? Like, like how
Yeah,
much sweeteners are you taking in? Like, like maybe
yeah,
we got to start tracking salt, like all these things that people that don't have the experience would just, it wouldn't even pop into their head. Cause again, all their,
no,
oh, you're eating in a calorie deficit. Like you should be getting leaner. Like that,
yeah.
That
Funny
only comes with
because
experience. Yeah, that
even
comes with
even
experience in the game.
yeah, even Hassan, right? And Mustafa, obviously everyone always criticizes him for condition and yada yada yada. And and I think he has gone to the stage in really, really, really good shape a bunch of times. He's won some shows, but I think they remember because he's competed so much, they remember all the times that he missed, right?
Yeah.
And I know he gets a lot of slack for that, but like obviously I worked with him this prep and got some time to learn his body. And I can't help but wonder, I just saw him today, and I can't help but wonder if a lot of the coaching up until this point has been miscalculated. And the reason why I say that is because about, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks ago, I went to him and I was like, hey, listen, man, I think it's going to be better that we do Vancouver. I think you need some more time, because I was really trying to push him and also being mindful of like performance and energy and all these things, right? Stress. And he was getting results, but very slowly. And his body was very like changing. Like the craziest things, his body would shoot up 6 pounds, over under. It was crazy. And I'm just like, man, this is insane. I'm gonna need more time to figure this out.
yeah,
Right. This is
yeah,
like,
yeah,
this is crazy. Right. So
yeah, yeah,
I end up like asking him a lot of questions about like prior coaches, what worked, what didn't, how he liked certain diuretics with past experience. And one thing that stuck out to me was like he mentioned like aldactone worked really well for him. So then I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe he has an issue with like aldosterone, or there's something going on in his body where his body retains sodium differently. So before like we decided to, shoot for a later show, just pulled the sodium for like a couple days. He dropped 10 pounds, looked harder, dense, full, lost no fullness. So it's like I think his body just has a different composition of like sodium and just needs a different amount. And when we're taking it in, his body's holding on too much. And I think what clues into my mind is that I'm like, okay, by the end of the diet, he always goes lower calories, right? But I'm like, is it because it's been miscalculated? Because I look at him and think we need to push harder. He's not in shape. He looks soft. So they keep pushing him to the point where more cardio, less calories, metabolism over the time goes down. So now by the time he's 4 weeks out, he's got metabolic damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So metabolically, he's declined.
Yeah.
Where if they would have looked at him figuring out that like sodium issue, maybe he would have appeared a lot leaner, never would have had to go as low calories. Do you know what I mean? I think like,
yeah, 100%.
Trying to push the diet because he appears
Yeah.
soft, but it's like, because even when I would like pinch him when he was 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out, he was soft in certain areas, but there wasn't much body fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I knew, I'm like, he's not that fat.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you how different people can be. And you got to think outside the box and have an open mind. There isn't a cookie cutter formula that works for everybody. And a good coach is going to be able to try and should be willing to try and figure things out, right? And understand that there's not just one way that works for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Because calorie deficit obviously is needed. Like that is the main tool. And generally most of the time, if everything else is good with that person and normal, like that should pretty much work. Like, calorie deficit week to week, throwing a couple of refeeds here and there when you see a big weight drop, something like that. But if you're a good coach, you have to have these tools and this experience to, when that's not working the way it should, to be like, okay, like I know better than this. I know that if everything was good with this person, they would be losing fat. So something else is going on here, right?
Yeah. The crazy thing was, and I remember I asked Lane Norton this question on a podcast I did with him, is like, I was talking to someone the other day, and they're doing bikini, and they're eating like I don't know, like 900 calories or something silly, right? And I'm just like, wow. And they're not losing weight; they need to get tighter, right? Says the coach. And I'm like, this person's doing like hour and a half cardio, working out. You're in a massive deficit. There is nothing you can do to further create a deficit. What do most coaches do? Oh, let's push the cleanse. Oh, more this, more that. It's like
T3, yeah.
That is, or T3. That is only going to stress your body out more. Yeah. And maybe what you're dealing with is not actually like body fat, and is maybe like inflammation or stress.
Yeah.
And the way to combat that is actually not trying to burn more and push you harder. It's actually managing your fatigue.
Pull back.
Like lower cardio, like lower volume, right? Like the other way, right? Because sometimes I'm just like, does it make any sense? I'm like, everyone knows you need to be in a deficit to make improvements. At what point are you like, okay, I'm fucking clearly in a deficit. I'm doing 2 hours of cardio and I'm training once a day and I'm taking drugs. You think you're not burning more than 1,000 calories a day? Okay, well, maybe it's not the caloric deficit that you need to burn body fat. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah, that's true. I just had a prep with a client, and I had to push her pretty hard to get her in shape. She was 36, had kids, it was her first show. And I would find that I could push her, and then things would just stall. And then I would look at the program and be like, okay, food's low, cardio's high. So I would just be like, here's a refeed day, no cardio tomorrow, right? And then she'd do that, down 2 pounds, right? And then I'd be like, then I'd do it again, right? Down another pound, right? And then I'd be like, okay, now we'll go back into the calorie deficit now that we took some stress off of you. And then now more progress again. So then you learn these patterns with your clients, right? And then you're like, so when you start running into those walls again, you're like, oh, I know what I need to do with this person.
I've been here before. Yeah, I've been here before, right? And it's I think, being a good coach is the ability learning when to push and pull, you know,
Yeah.
and whether the reference like to Chris Aceto when I worked with him, and a lot of these coaches, like, he might not know like the science or be able to explain to you exactly why he's doing this and what's doing this, but what Chris Aceto is really good at is looking at a body and understanding in his own way from all of his experience, knowing when you're overtrained, knowing when you look tired, knowing when your body's stressed. He knows how to tell you, hey, take cardio off today. Hey, we're pushing carbs. He knows when to push or pull. Not like scientifically or like can explain it, just his eyes are that seasoned in working with athletes that he's one of the best at being able to determine that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean,
That's the hallmark
how
of a
many
good
problems has he
coach.
solved like over the years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys running issues, he has to figure out a solution, and then
Yeah.
you kind of store that in your memory, and then you can call upon it when you need it again later, right?
That's
Exactly.
the huge difference between what looks good on paper versus how you can actually connect with that individualized person.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's really interesting, man. It's a
That's what
lot of
makes it so
these.
fun, right? Like that's what makes bodybuilding so interesting. And
Yep.
that's why we enjoy it so much, because it's constantly figuring out. It's constant troubleshooting. Every season, every prep is different than the one before. Even when we learn these patterns about our bodies, it still changes because we have more muscle mass each year, things like this. We learn more about our bodies. We have the ability to like kind of tap into those like inner resources that we maybe didn't have before, right? And being able to get more out of our training, more out of our mindset, even too, right? Like for your client, Morgan, like someone who is struggling like that, they might be like, mentally, I'm just going to push myself through it, not even realizing that having that time to kind of de-stress is actually what they need. But they're kind of so hardcore, like we could be hardcore, right? We're like, oh no, we'll just push through, push through, push through. It's like, but what you really need is to kind of just relax a little bit. And then all of a sudden your body starts to change.
Yeah.
And then you're
Well,
on the
there's
right
other
track again.
variables
Right.
in that situation too, right? Because that was the thing. Like she was like, I'm trying so hard, I'm doing all my cardio, I'm following my diet. And then I would start talking to her and like, at one point she didn't mention it to me. I had to pry it out of her, but her husband ended up in the hospital. Right. So now her workload went up tenfold with her kid. She was busier doing errands and stuff. And once I figured that out, I was like, you just need a couple of days off. I'm like,
That's it. That's the
that's all you
problem
need.
sometimes, right? It's
You know?
sometimes the athlete gets in their head and they think there's something wrong with me. I have a slow metabolism, or there's something wrong with my body. It's like, no, that's not true. That's just a story that you're telling yourself. So
Yeah.
you need to untell yourself that story and start to believe otherwise. It makes
Yeah.
a huge difference.
Just gotta go into troubleshooting mode. That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
Who else are you helping Quentin then, Dorian? You said three
Yeah.
athletes.
So Maya, you, Hassan, and then Quentin on what's today? What's the date today?
June 5th,
What is it though? Today
Wednesday.
is
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So yeah, I guess last Friday I
Nice.
sort of took over, took over. I just told him, because obviously I'm his last coach and I'm one of the only ones that he trusts at this point. And, it doesn't make sense for him to hire anyone else. So, he was just getting advice from me, but I just felt a little bit, I didn't want to like just give him a little bit and then him still do his own thing because he was eating a lot of food. He was like
Yeah.
eating a lot, right? And when I saw what he was eating, because I asked him to send it to me, I knew it was going to compound and it was going to
It's gonna
push to
catch
a
up.
point of no return
It's gonna
if
catch
he
up.
if he kept going down that path.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was just like, I felt like I needed to say something, just be like, hey man, if you want me to help you, I'll be all in, but like it needs to be now and not 6 days out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, it
Too
makes
little, too
sense,
late at
man.
that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And even at the point that I took over, I was like, and then we got really good progress. Like he looks really good right now. Like he's 10 pounds heavier than he was this many days out from New York, and he's fuller, and it's going to be a good package. I still think he has muscle that he needs to give himself a little more time to be what he could have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just doing the best he can with the time we have, right?
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I don't think I've ever prepped three people in the same division. I'm actually no, not in the same division. I had three people at the Olympia before, but like two in open and one in classic. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, let's hope they're all in the top three then.
I know, right? I was like,
Right?
holy
Sick.
smokes,
How
crazy.
epic would that be, right?
It's like pretty crazy though when you're helping three people though, and you're like, you want your client to win. You're like, well, I want three of them to win. You're like, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
You're like,
Well, at least you have high chances to get a high placing.
yeah, but it's weird too because then like I've never experienced that, especially like three clients that have the ability to win.
Yeah.
You know, when Regan and Antoine did the Olympia, it was kind of like, all right, like we're going to be outside the top 10. Who's going to be 13th and who's going to be 14th? Like, you know what I mean? Type thing, kind of new, right?
Yeah.
Where this is like, hey, these three guys, any one of them, if they nail it, like, could be fighting for the win. So it's like, as a coach now, I'm going to be happy for whoever wins. But then there's going to be someone who got,
It's tough. It's tough.
right?
It's
And you're
tough.
like, it's like, damn. It's like, then you have to be like, happy for this person, but then you got to be like, oh man, we're going to like make corrections.
Yeah.
You have to be able to pivot and you have to be able to level with each person based on what just happened.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Right?
could be celebrating with some guys and then consoling some guys
Weird,
all
right?
at the same time.
Yeah,
Well, I
weird,
mean, the
weird.
thing
Yeah,
is,
it's fun with that.
like we're all going to celebrate together because the most important thing about bodybuilding is that we're bringing our best to the stage.
Yeah.
The placing at that point is out of your control. You
Yes.
bring us at our best. The judges then decide afterwards. So you can just know that you've done your job. We know that we've done our job, and then we can kind of just have fun with it, right? And
Yeah,
the win
exactly.
is the win. That's the best feeling. Getting second, like me and Morgan were saying, also that's awesome because now you're getting compared to the first place. Being third place, I mean, that's great too. You're taking home some prize money. So just like we talked about
Yeah.
before, it's like you just got to look at what you do have instead of what you
Yeah, it's
don't have.
perspective. Yeah,
That's
it's all
it.
perspective,
Perspective,
right?
man. You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about bringing
perspective.
your best. If you bring your best package, you have nothing to complain about in bodybuilding. Like
Yeah.
it's never a
Yeah.
good look to get upset after a
Yeah,
show.
I think you take the feedback from the judges, right? And then you just go back to the drawing board and work and make the appropriate changes and show up for the next show.
Yeah. We all want to win. We train to win. We don't come for anything but first place. But when you don't get first place, that's when you learn what you need to do to get first place next time. Then you have something that you can go, okay, now I'm even more motivated. I got some work to do. Let's do that for the next show. And you just keep repeating the process. That's what bodybuilding is. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So it's awesome, man. I'm really excited.
So Dorian, you did mention though that you're trying to take your training and everything a bit more serious lately. So are you possibly thinking about a return yourself?
Yeah.
What's going
Oh my
on
God.
here? What's going on here?
I would love to, man. I'm just like every year, it's like for the last couple of years, I'm always thinking that. But
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, sorry, one sec. Antoine's trying to call me. I just gotta tell him.
Get him
Let
on.
me let me just tell him. Message.
And I know Antoine might be doing Toronto next year. So maybe next year, Toronto, you might have five guys in the open class.
That would that, that'd be crazy.
You're gonna
But
have
yeah,
Imagine
for
that.
myself, man, it's like between my herniated disc and then like I ended up getting the perennial nerve that
yeah,
messed up. And this is the crazy thing. So the perennial nerve, when I messed that up, it gave me drop foot. So I had drop foot where you can't really control the ankle; it just kind of smacks the ground. So then what ended up happening a year, 12 months after that, was the bottom of my foot started hurting me, like the fascia. So I just went about 4 weeks ago now. I had tears across the entire foot. The fascia tore. So I got PRP and some other thing, which cost like 3K. They did the whole foot, and I was on crutches for like a week, stayed off it. And here I am, 4 weeks post. My foot hurts more than before I got it done. And I'm just like, God, I was hoping I'd get that done. It would heal up. I get back into leg training.
yeah,
I'm just like, but you know what? A part of me still just like, you know what? Fuck it. Just do the best I can. It's not going to be what I could have done when I was 25 or
yeah.
28, but just like work around it. So I'm
Do
just gonna
it.
get back into training and do the best I can and work around it.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's all you can do. Work around it, and then hopefully it heals up, and then you
Yeah,
never know, right?
yeah, it's crazy. But it's crazy though because like when I see guys, right, like when I came back years ago, obviously Morgan, I competed with you, and I see how much you've progressed since then. Or I
Yeah,
remember Robin a long, long time ago when I was competing and he was a junior, and just seeing everyone, how they've like progressed and stayed consistent, and like where I was when I was like, 25, 26 years old, and what I felt at that time I could have been, and
Yeah.
like never just like, ended up focusing on business and other things.
Yeah.
But always in the back of my mind, you always thought like, oh no, it's still there. Like, you can still do that. I can still pick that up. Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, holy shit, now I'm 37.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, either I do it now or like, this
Yeah.
opportunity is never going to really be here anymore. But then you start comparing too to like, as bodybuilders, we always want things to be perfect, right? And
Exactly.
we're always saying, oh, when the time's right. Well, there's never going to be a right time. You're always going to have problems. Okay, right now I have this problem, my back, my leg. I don't know. And next year, something else might happen. I
Yeah.
might have financial issues. I might, like, you never know what can happen. So there's never going to be the perfect time, right?
Dude, it's so true, man. Like you'll always be in your head about something. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember like when I hurt my arm, like when I first moved out here, like I was like devastated. I was like, I might as well give up. And like now it's something I don't even think about. Like
Yeah.
it's just like
Right.
normal to me. Like, I moved on from it. I progressed.
I
Like,
remember. I remember that happened to you, and I remember telling you, like, there's probably going to be, it's going to be devastating for you now, but you're going to look back, and this is probably going to have taught you some lessons or some good value that you get from this small setback that's going to allow you to go forward even more. Whether that's like just getting a little bit more in touch with your training or whatever it is, right? Whatever you learn from that event that happened,
well, that's
you
exactly
know.
what happened. I tell people that because when I hurt my arm, I had to keep training back, but I had to train it lighter. So I really had to learn how to use my back and not my arms at all, like for my rows and pull downs and stuff. And that's something that's 100% carried over to me now that I'm back at 100%. I feel my back way more in all my back movements, and I see the progress from that. So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there was a silver lining in that happening, right?
yeah. I
It's,
was looking
it's
at you
like they say,
yesterday.
man, like they say God never gives you something that you're not prepared to handle. And even
Yeah,
even in that moment, you feel like, oh, this is gonna break me. But then the fact that it doesn't break you, that's what makes you stronger. That's what you're supposed to go through that so you can grow through that, right? Like,
Well, Robin, I remember like when that happened to me, like you talked to me a bunch of times and like you helped me a lot too, because you would say to me, like, we don't quit no matter what.
yeah,
Like we just keep moving forward. We just keep going. And like that's something I just thought about. Like whenever I felt super shitty about that.
day by day.
Yeah, just like I'm not gonna quit. Like I'm just gonna focus on what I can control and just keep going forward. And now like I said, now I don't even think about my arm. I feel like I progressed. Like I'm 330 now, like holding it easily. And I'm like, man, like I can't believe I was actually thinking about giving up. Like,
yeah.
holy shit. Like,
That's the important thing
Great.
about being able to stay present. Because when you
Yeah,
start thinking in the past, could have, should have,
yeah,
why did that happen to me? It's like none of that's going to help you move forward. The only thing
yeah,
that's going to help you move forward is what can I do now to be better right now in this moment today,
yeah, yeah,
right?
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, okay,
Crazy.
so Toronto Pro, obviously it's gonna be a good show. Vancouver's after that. What other shows are you really excited for this year, Dorian?
Man, I don't think I've looked past Toronto just because the amount of clients I have, and then just obviously with the gym and everyone in town, and there's just so much going on this week for me. I'm just like, oh, I got like all my new clothing that's dropping too. So there's just so much going on where like I'm just looking forward to the week after Toronto when I can just take a big breath and relax.
Yeah, it does feel
But
like that, right? It's
obviously,
like there's
yeah,
always that big build up to the show,
and
and
then
then
nothing.
yeah, and then right after the show, you feel like, oh wow, like I was holding like a lot of that anxiety and that pressure inside. You don't even realize, but sometimes you can almost get like emotional after just by like, what did we just do? Like we just put everything that we had into this prep for the last 4 months, let alone the entire from last year. And then the day comes, and then the day's over.
That,
Right?
yeah, it's crazy. But obviously, I'm looking forward to the Vancouver as well, right? Whether I think you're gonna continue to go on and go do that.
Oh
Pretty
yeah,
sure Hassan will too. So the future, there's lots to look forward to, and it's going to be a big good year for everyone.
yeah. No, that's
Yeah, it's
awesome, man.
exciting. And then like in July, obviously Antoine's getting married. There's like so many just like cool things happening,
Yeah, it's
with the friends, family, whatever it may be. So
Yeah,
yeah, we have a lot to look forward to.
yeah, yeah,
dude,
that's for sure.
always
That's
so
for sure.
so grateful, man. So grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you got to live.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm grateful for you guys too. I don't want to keep you guys any longer, so let's wrap it up there. But it was really great,
Awesome.
of course.
Yeah, that was a great chat, guys. Thanks for coming on, Dorian.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and we'll have to do it again sometime, and maybe next time Justin will actually show up.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know if he's going to get another invite after this.
I guarantee you, because we have to do right after this at 7, we have the Pure Muscle podcast.
Yeah.
Pure Muscle Radio. So I wonder if he was like, fuck.
Yeah, like, he didn't want to go back to back.
3 hours of
Hey, it's understandable, man. It's understandable. We'll get him on another time.
Yeah. We'll keep getting we'll keep getting on the heavy D athletes. We'll get Antoine on again. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, guys, keep doing your thing, and we'll see you guys probably tomorrow at the gym.
Absolutely. See you there.
All right.
Yeah, bro.
See you
guys. Good night, guys.
Later.
Thanks so much.